Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna,
Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dhanush Pranam, Hare Krishna. Okay, so how you all doing?
By the grace of Guru and Gauranga, fine Prabhu.
Fine, Prabhu.
How are you,
Prabhu.
How Mataji?
How
You
are
record from Prabhu from dengue fever something.
Yeah, all where fever on one side, service on one side.
Great.
That's the medicine, Prabhu.
Non-stop it has become. Just chin training, yeah. Okay, let's begin our prayers. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadadi Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sagitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Desatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Welcome for today's morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. We are sort of late by 4 minutes. Okay. We'll catch up.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Dhanush Pranam. I'll just share the screen. So, are you all reading the purports after the class?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So, which sloka we completed last class?
Sixth
Hold on.
one, Prabhu. We have to start 7th.
7, yeah. Lord protects the child in the womb. Yeah. This is a very good sloka. Yeah. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 12, Text 7. Mathur Garbhagato Viraha Sattada Bhrigunandana Tadrsha Purusham Kanchit Dayyamano Astra Tejasa. So, if you look at the word-to-word meaning, very interesting it is. Mathur Garbha. Mathur means mother. Garbha means womb. Gato Viraha. Being situated there, Viraha, the great fighter. So, look at that. Parikshit Maharaj, in his child itself, was concluded by Srimad Bhagavatam as a great fighter. In the womb, the child is still developing. It's not even fully developed. He's already a great fighter there. Viraha. Such child, Parikshit. Tada, at that time, Bhrigunandana. So Bhrigunandana means son of Bhrigu. Dadarsha could see. Purusham, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kanchit, as someone else. Dahyamanaha, suffering from being burned. Astra, the Brahmastra, Tejasa, temperature. Right? So the Astra is coming and hitting the child within the womb of Mother Uttara, and it is producing so much of heat. And that's what is being explained in this translation. O son of Bhrigu, Shaunaka. Okay. Now, this is a conversation between the rishis. So that's why the Shaunaka, who is son of Bhrigu, that's the conversation, that's why it's mentioned. Okay. When the child Parikshit, the great fighter, was in the womb of his mother, Uttara was suffering the burning heat of Brahmastra. Okay. Brahmastra thrown by Ashwatthama. He would observe the Supreme Lord coming to him. So look at the blessing of Parikshit Maharaj. Right from his womb, yet to develop child. That time itself, he was able to see Krishna. That time itself, he was able to understand the mercy of the Lord. And he carried forward that all the way till his death. Okay? Purport. Can someone read the purport?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Death generally involves remaining in the trance for 7 months. A living being, according to his own action, is allowed to enter into the womb of a mother by the vehicle of a father's semen, and thus he develops his desired body. This is the law of birth in specific bodies according to one's past action. When he is awake from the trance, he feels the inconvenience of being confined within the womb, and thus he wants to come out of it, and sometimes, fortunately, prays to the Lord for such liberations. Maharaja Parikshit, while in the womb of his mother, was struck by a Brahmastra released by Aswathama, and he was feeling the burning heat. But because he was a devotee of Lord, the Lord at once appeared himself within the womb by his all-powerful energy, and the child could see that someone else has come to save him. Even in the helpless condition, the child Parikshit endured the unbearable temperature due to his being a great fighter by nature. And for this reason, the word Viruhu has been used.
Viraha. Okay.
Viraha has been used.
So generally, if you take a Kshatriya, who are, administrative class, they're fighters, right? So the ability of a fighter is to be very tolerative, ability to take care of any pain, because they always have the fighting spirit, right? So that is the key thing. Now, go back to this personality called Karna. Okay. Karna is actually Kshatriya. Why? He was born in the womb of Mother Kunti. He's Kshatriya. Kshatriya means they have this tolerance, fighting ability. They can face people in the war. Even if they are stabbed by a weapon, they don't care. They go. That's the kind of consciousness they have, right? So you know the pastime, right? He told he's a Brahmana to his spiritual master Parshuram, and he learnt all the skills. So one day when a insect came to bite him, at the time his spiritual master was lying on the lap of Parshuram. Like his lap was used like a pillow, right? At the time when this insect came to bite him, it was very, very painful and poisonous. But he tolerated it. Why? Because he didn't want to disturb or shake his body, because the sleep of his spiritual master will be disturbed. That's the respect he had. But unfortunately, what happened? It revealed the truth of his original personality, that he is a Kshatriya, right? So as a Brahmana, he tried to learn, told the spiritual master he wants to learn, but he actually seems to be Kshatriya, and the spiritual master discovered that because a Brahmana cannot tolerate such pain. A Brahmana cannot, withhold this kind of pain for such a long time. If you're able to do that, that means you cannot be a Brahmana, you must be Kshatriya. So hence he cursed him. Okay, that's a different story. But that's what you have to understand. Here, even in Parikshit Maharaj's case, even in a womb, he's not even developed as a child. He's already showing his fighting spirit, right? So there you can understand what sort of lineage he's coming from and what qualities he's demonstrating, right? And hence, Prabhupada is talking about the usage of word viraha in this sloka as an important subject matter to understand, right? Be it a Brahmana or a Vaishya or a Sudra, they cannot have such fighting spirits. That's the nature. So Krishna says, Chaturvarnam Maya Shishtam. When I created these 4 classes, I gave specific qualities to each class of people. And they will demonstrate those. If you ask a Kshatriya to think of economic activity, to think of business transaction, they may not, because that's not their nature. Right? It's similar to a Brahmana. And vice versa also. If you ask a Vaishya or Kshatriya to talk about high Brahminical skills, high Vedic knowledge, something, they may not have. So, all these classes of men have to support each other to live within the environment. Okay? And by cooperative living among these 4 classes of men, then there will be success in the entire world. That's the point to understand here. Okay, let's go to the next sloka, 12.8. So here we're going to talk about features of the Lord. Very beautifully it's explained. Angushta matram amalam spurat puratta maulinam apivya darshanam shamam tadidvasasam achyutam. Translation. He is the Lord. Now see, the Lord in the form of Paramatma is appearing in the womb of Uttara. Okay. So the description of the form of Paramatma is what is the vision of Parikshit Maharaj. And that's what it's explaining. Okay. He, the Lord, was only thumb high, just only this much high. See, this is a thumb. Okay. This is what he was high. This is the size. That's why it's called Angushta, with a measure of thumb. Okay. Then he was all transcendental. Transcendental here refers to Amalam. Amalam means transcendental. Okay. Then he uses the word Spurat Puratta Maulinam. Right? The effulgence of the body of Krishna, who's in the form of a Paramatma, thumb-sized, he was golden effulgence. He was glittering like anything. Right? It is blazing Purata, gold. And he was wearing a helmet. Right? He was wearing a helmet, Maulinam. Then Apiva, even though he was wearing a helmet, he was golden effulgence, he was appearing very, very beautiful. And he took the darshan of such a Lord. Right? Darshanam, Shamam. And what is his body's color? The hue of the body color is blackish. Right? So Krishna's body color was blackish. His size was Angushta, that means a thumb size, and he was wearing a helmet, and he was transcendental in nature. So like that he is describing. His body color is Shamam, and he was a glaring effulgence like gold, right? Then Vasasam. So Tadit lightning, Vasasam clothing, Achyutam the infallible, right? So he, the Lord, was thumb high, but he was all transcendental. He had a very beautiful blackish infallible body, right? This word infallible does not don't think in the form of, okay, he's a Kshatriya kinds. No, if you see that person, the way his body construct is it, you will feel that, you cannot defeat him. You cannot, get him to your, clutches. Not possible. That's why, that is the context here. And he wore a dress of a lightning yellow and a helmet of blazing gold. Thus he was seen by the child. So this form, when the child saw, one is the beauty, but the child is getting the confidence of protection. Now I got someone who's going to protect me. Right? So that's the context. Okay. Now, further features that are explained here. Let us see 12.9. Srimad Dirga Chaturbaham Tapta Kanchana Kundalam Shatajaksham Gatapanim Atmana Sharvato Disham Paribrahmantam Ulkabam Brahmayantam Gadamhu. Translation. The Lord was enriched with 4 hands. So Paramatma always demonstrated four hands. Earnings of the molten gold and eyes blood red with fury. So the eyes blood red with fury shows that his eagerness, his anger against what is being done to this child in the womb. As he loitered around, his club constantly encircled him like a shooting star, right? So when you see shooting star, how do you represent? You represent like this, right? It will be like this. That shows the path of how the shooting star moved. Okay. So Lord with a club, he just moved around the womb of Parikshit like a shooting star. Shooting star here refers to the speed at which it moves and the glaring effulgence, right? So by doing that, he was protecting Parikshit Maharaj. So a layer, so there's a womb and there's a layer of energy, that is the Lord, and that energy protected the Lord from the effulgence of Brahmastra going into the womb, the heat of Brahmastra going to the womb of Mother Uttara, and he protected the child. Right? Purport. Can someone read the purport?
Yes, shall I read, Prabhu?
Yeah, read, Prabhu.
It is said in the Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, that the Supreme Lord Govinda, by his one plenary portion, enters into the halo of the universe and distributes himself as Paramatma, or the super soul, not only within the heart of every living being, but also within every atom of the material elements. Thus, the Lord is all-pervading by his inconceivable potency, and thus he entered the womb of Uttara to save his beloved devotee, Maharaja Parikshit. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord assured, am I right, Prabhu?
Yes, Lord assured.
The Lord assured everyone that his devotees are never to be vanquished.
Name Bhakta Pranashyati.
Yes, Prabhu. No one can kill a devotee of the Lord because he is protected by the Lord. No one can save a person whom the Lord desires to kill. The Lord is all powerful, and therefore he can both save and kill as he likes. He became visible to his devotee Maharaja Parikshit even in that awkward position in the womb of his mother, in a shape just suitable for his vision. The Lord can become bigger than thousands of universes and can become smaller than an atom at the same time.
Okay,
Merciful.
pause, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
So this is called Achinta Shakti of the Lord. The Lord can be present in an atom, which is the smallest unidentifiable object by naked eyes. Similarly, when Arjuna wanted to see the Lord, he showed his Vishwarupa, where he encompassed everything in this universe. Right? So you see the extreme side, the Vishwarupa, you see the extreme side, the Lord can be present even in the atom. So this shows the Achinta Shakti of the Lord, inconceivable potency of the Lord. So by this, the Lord can easily understand every activity that is happening in this material world, including our consciousness. If our consciousness is pure, if our consciousness is clean, it attracts the Lord to come and reside in our heart. So there is no way that we can cheat the Lord. Right? There's no way we can cheat the Lord. And when we demonstrate bhakti, if our bhakti is real or pseudo, the Lord can know. So thus, you can clearly understand that Krishna, when he says Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, he is the perfect yogi. He is the yogi of all yogis. He is the transcendental mystic yogi. So we can easily understand that Lord cannot be cheated. Lord can only be conquered by pure love of devotion. And Lord sees that staying in your heart. That is the point here. Okay? Read further, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. The Lord is all powerful, and therefore he can both save and kill as he likes. He became visible to his devotee Maharaja Parikshit even in the awkward position in the womb of his mother in a shape just suitable for his vision. The Lord can become bigger than thousands of universes and can become smaller than an atom at the same time. Merciful as he is, he becomes just suitable to the vision of the limited living being. He is unlimited. He is not limited by any measurement of our calculation. He can become bigger than what we can think of, and he can become smaller than what we can conceive. But in all circumstances, he is the same all-powerful Lord. There is no
So if you say that, Prabhuji, my home deities are too small, while the other temple deities are bigger, so I'll give a differential treatment. This is not in the right consciousness. What you see in Archa Vigraha that has happened in the temple, not different. The Lord will exist in the same manner in the smallest Vigraha that we have at home. So, the worship at home should also be very carefully handled. It cannot be compromised. That's the understanding. Yes, Prabhu. He
There
accepts
is-
the form of Archa Vigraha.
there is no, shall I continue, Prabhu?
Continue.
There is no difference between the thumb-like Vishnu in the womb of Uttara and the full-fledged Narayana in the Vaikuntha Dhama, the kingdom of Godhead. He accepts the form of Archa Vigraha, worshipable deity, just to accept service from his different incapable devotees. By the mercy of Archa Vigraha, the form of the Lord in material elements, the devotees who are in this material world can easily approach the Lord, although he is not conceivable by the material senses. The Archa Vigraha is therefore an all spiritual form of the Lord to be perceived by the material devotees. Such an Archa Vigraha of the Lord is never to be considered material. There is no difference between matter and spirit for the Lord, although there is a gulf of difference between the two in the case of the conditioned living being. For the Lord, there is nothing but spiritual existence, and similarly, there is nothing except spiritual existence for the pure devotee of the Lord in the intimate relation with the Lord. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah. So, we are very clear about the Achinta Shakti of the Lord. So, now what matters is very simple. How do we connect with this Lord? The moment we desire to connect with this Lord, the Lord who's sitting as in the Paramatma shows us the direction. It is all starting with our desire. The moment we get attracted to some feature of the Lord, directly or indirectly, and if we desire to connect with them to serve Him or whatever it may be, Lord shows the path. It can be time varied, that's all, but the Lord shows the path. So devotion begins in the hands of devotee, the first step. It is very important to understand. Okay? So don't keep waiting. Okay, I will get an opportunity one day, then I'll practice devotion. Something has to knock my doors. Something has to tell within my heart. Don't wait for it. If you see this is the right thing, this is a great opportunity, whatever possible from your side, begin your devotion. Today or tomorrow you have to do it. So why wait? Do it now. That is the important point that we have to understand. Right? Now, when one practices devotion, one starts to inquire with the Lord, the goal of my life, one starts to practice devotion, then what happens? The Lord tells him, take this path. This is more safer for you. Don't take this path. This is dangerous. He makes the right connections for you in your life at the right time. So that way you see the Lord protects us in our life. Be it whatever it may be, be it health or financials or anything that we want, He protects us so that we don't get into trouble, but we tread the path very nicely. This is what you have to understand. Now, Parikshit has not practiced devotion, but the Sukriti on him is already been exhibited by Subhadra, sister of Krishna, and Uttara. These two people have demonstrated so much of devotion that the Lord reciprocated at this important time. Okay, so now let's look at Sloka 12:10. This Sloka tells how the Lord protects the child in the womb, which is Parikshit. Astra teja swagadaya niharam iva gopitaha gopati vidamantam shannikarshe paryakshata ka iti asau. The Lord was thus engaged in vanquishing the radiation of Brahmastra, just as the sun evaporates a drop of dew. He was observed by the child who thought about who he was. So there are two things to learn out of this. One, the Lord protected, and the child visibly saw the Lord even in the womb. That means in the womb only Parikshit Maharaj got liberated. If he was able to see eye to eye. Because he was a child, he could not understand who he was fully. But the Lord gave the darshan to the child in the womb. So similarly in our life also, if our practice of devotion is on the faith of the Lord, the holy name, if you hold on to them very strongly, the mercy of the Lord will come. The mercy of the Lord will come at the timely manner. Here the timely manner is life or death for Parikshit. So similarly will be the timely manner for each one of us. And that is the important point to understand out of this. Okay, let's read 12.11. Viduya tad ameyatma bhagavan dharmagap vibhuhu mishato dasamasasya tatraivantaradade harihi. Translation. While thus being observed by the child, the Supreme Lord, personality of Godhead, the super soul of everyone, and the protector of the righteous, who stretches in all direction and who is unlimited by time and space, disappeared at once. Okay? So Lord came, finished the reciprocation by protecting the child. Brahmastra completed its work, meaning produced that kind of heat and energy, and Brahmastra disappeared. And Lord also disappeared because the child is protected. Right? So you can see the position of the Lord. Here, the key word is the Supreme Being are said to be all pervading. Yena Sharvam Idam Tatam. Yet there's a difference between two kinds of pervasiveness. Right? The Paramatma and the Bhagavan. The all-pervading soul, the Paramatma, we cannot develop relationship with the Paramatma. We can only develop relationship with Bhagavan. So why? It is very simple. If one practices devotion in this life, very life, then what happens? The Paramatma shows the way what to do in one's life, how to move forward in one's life, right? So he is a constant companion living with us, and he is going to take us to the next life. Now, what happens at the time of death? We have two kinds of bodies, subtle and gross body. The gross body is burnt to ashes. You put into the crematorium and gone. But the subtle body, the soul, along with false mind, intelligence and ego, false ego, the soul is now thinking what to do next. Which womb should I go? Am I liberated? What is it? So, depending on the consciousness, the Paramatma may take the soul to the next birth or give him liberation based on his consciousness. If he is conscious to remember Krishna, he is to go back home, back to Godhead. If his devotion has fructified, then the Paramatma takes him all the way to the Vaikuntha planets. He is the navigator. When once we reach the Vaikuntha planets, the Paramatma leaves us there and he disappears. Why? Because in our life, we all worship that all-pervading Lord in the Bhagavan feature. Bhagavan feature means a personality who can interact with us, who can exchange rasas, whom we can render our service. To the Paramatma, we cannot render service because we cannot see him. But Bhagavan, we can see him. In the material world, we can observe Bhagavan in the form of Archavigraha. Once we enter the spiritual world, we will see Bhagavan eye to eye. Then Paramatma is not required because you are already with Bhagavan. So Paramatma disappears. Right? So this is the process that we have to understand. And hence, in this practice of devotion, we keep the Archavigraha form of the Lord, which is Bhagavan himself, and then practice devotion. That's why we go to the temples. That's why we have deities at home. and then we start to worship them. Because practice of worship of Bhagavan must be constant and consistent. Okay? Is this point very clear?
Yes, Prabhu, whatever verses we have been discussing, is it having relation with one verse that is, it is said that Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Eko
Eko Bahunam Vedadati Kama.
Vidadati Kaman, Prabhu? Is it related to these 2-3 verses, Prabhu?
See, Nitya Nityana means what it's trying to tell is there's a difference between the Lord and us. Okay. Now, what is the difference is we are also living entity souls, and Lord is also a transcendental entity. Okay. We have read in the past that the soul is part and parcel of the Lord. That means qualitatively we are same as the Lord. We are also transcendental. We are also Satchidananda. There's no difference.
Yes, Prabhu.
But our problem is that Krishna says, no, to Arjuna, evam parampara praptam imam rajarsaya viduhu. So he says that the soul continuously enters the womb of a material mother. Okay?
Yes, Prabhu.
And gathers a new body. And comes out as a child, whether human being or animals or insects, same process. Comes out as a child and lives for some period of time, and once again leaves that gross body, and then is trying to search for the second gross body. That is Punarapi Jananam.
Yes.
So the soul is continuously taking body and leaving that body in the form of birth and death. How many times? Time immemorial, infinite number of times. And hence, because it leaves that body and takes another body, it forgets the past life experiences. Okay?
Yes.
So even though we are Nityam, but we are going through temporary formation of birth and death. Like life is there, life is not there. Life is there, life is not there. Like that we're going through. But the Lord never changes his body. Lord is always transcendental and always in the same body. That means, even though we say, no, Nava Yavvanam cha, Adya Puranam. So, like that, we say that means even though Lord is the oldest personality in this entire creation, he never changes body. He is always that 14 years old. He remains like that forever. The four Kumaras who are in the spiritual world, they're always childlike forever, time immemorial. So that is the difference between Lord and a living entity, and hence the sloka Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam applies only to the Lord and not to us.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay? Clear,
Yes.
Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Okay. Let's go to the next sloka, 12.12. So now we are going to get into the section where we're going to talk about, okay, now this child is a great child. Why? Because in the womb only he saw Krishna. The womb only he was protected by the Lord personally. That too, once Brahmastra means no chance, no hope. But Lord can even overcome that and protect. That means this child is a great child. Hence, the ceremony of his birth must be also great. So hence, the sloka is trying to tell what all was done during the birth of Parikshit Maharaj. 12.12. Tatah sarva gunodharke shanukula grahadayoy jajne vamshadhara pando bhuya pandu ivaujasa. Look at this sloka. Tataha, thereupon, Sharva, all. Guna, good signs. Udarke, having gradually evolved. Sanukula, all favorable. Grahodaye, constellation of stellar influence. Constellation means formation of these planetary positions. They form different positions. So in the English also you take, Gemini, Libra, Virgo. These are all represented by star formation. Constellation formation. They'll draw one chart, which will give a shape of a Simha, will give a shape of one, this one, like that. They give all these formations. Jajne took birth, Vamshadaraha, here apparent, Pandu of Pandu, Boya being Pandava, exactly like Pandu, Ojasa by prowess. Right? So we saw in the previous discussions that when Krishna was born, Supreme Personality of Godhead is being born, then all the stars, what they did, oh, we have to assemble and arrange ourselves in such a manner that shows the most auspicious formation ever happened in this creation. So that's why you see, even though Krishna was born in the midnight, all the stars, they change their position so that they give positive influence on the child. Okay? Now, you cannot confuse yourself by saying, oh, because of the star's positive influence, Krishna was like God. No. Because Krishna is God, to support the fact that he is God and is all-powerful, all stars start to align. And this is called auspiciousness. So, for example, when a child is born in our life, what do? We go to the horoscope person, right? We tell him, please draw the horoscope and tell me how's the child life. He will tell, sir, according to this child horoscope, first 10 years he'll be like this, next 20 years he'll be like this, the star change happens and he'll be like this. He will tell all these details. That means the influence of stars on the life of an individual. Similarly, Parikshit, his life is such a glorious, even the stellar formation, the constellations also changed to show that such an auspicious time he has born. Okay? Thereupon, when all good signs of the zodiac gradually evolved, and heir apparent, heir means genealogy, apparent of Pandu, who would be exactly like him, the prowess, took birth. Pandu was a great prowess, Maharaj with great fighting spirit, right? And like him, he took birth. So when you compare a person, you're going to compare the qualities of that person. So for example, when we say, O son of Kunti, to Arjuna, that means you're referring to Arjuna as certain qualities referred which is prominent in Kunti Maharani. That's why you're referring, O son of Kunti. O Panduputra. O Panduputra, when we say to Arjuna, means you're telling Arjuna that you're referring to certain qualities of Pandu Maharaj. That's why you're saying, O Panduputra Arjuna. Right? So that is how we understand. So he says, just like the prowess of Pandu Maharaj, he was born. That means he was such a great king. Okay? So let's go to the next sloka. 12.13. Now, Prabhupada talks to the devotees in the form of performing of samskaras. Right? So we devotees, when we want to produce child, we want to produce child who is a Suputra. So who is a Suputra? A Suputra is a child who is not like a Varnashankara, a burden to the society. Right? He's a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava means he's never a burden to the society. He, in fact, is a great direction to the society. And not only that he will be empowered with, so much of blessings that Suputra can give deliverance to the father. Right? So we perform what is called Shraddha ceremony. We do Pinda Dana and all those things we do. So why do we do all these things? We're offering prayers to the Lord, oh, please deliver my father, who may be not completing his devotional service. But the father may not be eligible, but the child prayers may make father get liberated. The best example we quote is Prahlad Maharaj. So, Narsimhadev took Hiranyakashipu on his lap and he tore open his body and removed all the parts of the body to see if there any love anywhere somewhere. He didn't find anything. And he was roaring in anger. At that time, he was so pleased with Prahlad Maharaj's prayers. Then he asked Prahlad Maharaj, what do you want? So even though his father was very cruel to Prahlad, who gave death penalty to Prahlad at many, many times, Prahlad demonstrated compassion that please forgive him. So what the Lord said, oh Prahlad, you're an Uttam Adhikari. You're one of the purest of my devotees. For you, 21 generations of your ancestors will be delivered, whether they're eligible or not eligible. Right? That is assurance Lord gives to Prahlad Maharaj. So, a good devotee, a Suputra, is important to be born in our womb. Just by that Suputra's practice, the parents get delivered. And that is the greatest gift that a Putra can give to a parent. So here Prabhupada is talking about Garbhadana Samskara. What is Garbhadana Samskara? It is out of the 21 samskaras, this samskara is performed before a husband and a woman conceives to produce a child. Right? Before a father and mother unite to produce a child, this Garbhadana Samskara is done. Once this samskara is done, it is you're taking the spiritual strength and the blessings of the mercy of Radha and Krishna. Then you perform the act of unification to produce the child. Such a child, when it is born after 9 months in the womb, you see the constellations will be favorable. The child will be already blessed with transcendental mercy. And that is important. And that child is a Suputra. Otherwise, what happens? Improper unification by the husband and wife. And they'll be cursed by Lord Shiva. And a child born with the deformations or a cruel mentality or lusty desires or many, many issues, the child will be born. The child himself cannot deliver, and then where will he deliver his father? And that is a problem. So hence it is important that Vaishnavas, they request and invite pure souls to enter the womb of the mother. And that's why you perform the samskara called Garbhadana Samskara. In fact, it is said, the Garbhadana Samskara, or the first seedling purificatory process prescribed for the higher caste, is the beginning of all pious acts to receive a good, pious, intelligent class of men in the human society. Otherwise, we're going to have unwanted people in the society causing just a disturbance, and they may sit even in political chair and administer in the wrong manner. Okay? So that's the key about what Prabhupada is talking here. Let's go to 12.13.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I have a doubt here, Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji.
Prabhu, while performing this Garbhadana Samskara, should the girl and the boy should be Vaishnavas?
See, without practicing some aspects of devotion, you may not be able to be successfully perform Garbhadana Samskara.
Okay, Prabhu.
Okay? You can still do it, but the benefit and the effect may be limited.
Okay.
So, that's why, for example, our children, at least by in their teenage, we have to expose them to Krishna conscious, if we can't expose them at earlier age.
Okay, Prabhu.
And make them to practice some of these things, make them to read Srimad Bhagavatam, right? Purify their consciousness so that they are able to, they may not reach 16 rounders or anything like that, but at least to some level of purity they have reached. Now, when they perform Garbhadana Samskara, they will be able to appreciate it, they will be able to request and pray to the Lord.
Okay, Prabhu.
And it will have its own effect.
Okay, Prabhu.
Suddenly, out of the blue, one day, we don't do anything on that plane, and suddenly we say Garbhadana Samskara. Okay, Samskara can be done, it's still a purificatory process, but the reciprocation may be very limited.
Okay, Prabhu.
Okay?
Prabhu, above that, there is one sentence here. Only by pious acts can one be allowed to get good wealth, good education, and beautiful features. So all this together comes to a person. We call it as opulence. Or how is it, Prabhu?
Yeah, opulence means opulence means not just money. Every aspect is. For example, someone is blessed with great musical talent, it's still an opulence. Right? So opulence is a variety of things. It's not just money.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay. Now let's look at what the father did once Parikshit was born. 12.13. Tasya prita mana raja viprai daumya kripadibihi jatakam karayam asha vachayitva cha mangalam. Translation. King Yudhishthir was very satisfied with the birth of Maharaj Parikshit, had the purificatory process of birth performed. Learned Brahmanas headed by Dhaumya Kripa recited auspicious hymns. So this tells that why we have certain aspects of performing samskaras in our life, right? So for example, when someone is in the womb, we perform Srimantam ceremony, right? Oh, for the protection of the mother and child. Like that we do many. Once the child is born, we again do purificatory process. Now, Namakarna is also another samskara. It is important. So during Namakarna, what you do, you chant so many hymns and mantras, give him an appropriate name, and also pray to the Lords to award the mercy on him so that he can perform nicely in his life. So like that, each of these methods are described in our Shastra, and they have their own value. So a good Vaishnava will follow all these steps. Okay? All the samskaras that are prescribed. And that way one can become purified. Okay? So this talked about what are all the purificatory steps that King Yudhishthira took, as described in the Shastras. And he called the Brahmanas to recite all the Vedic verses. He called the Brahmanas and then gave them lots of written gifts as a honor and as a respect so that they can be happily bless the child. Like that, all these things were done. Okay? You can read them. It is academic interest and very nicely mentioned. So you can read them, and that way you can understand what I mentioned here. Okay? 12.14. It's a 12.14 and 13 is a continuation. Okay? Hiranyam gam mahim gramam hastya ashwan nirpatir varan pradat swannam cha virpribhyaha prajatirte sa tirtave. Translation. Upon the birth of the son, the king, who knew how, where, and when charity should be given, gave gold, land, villages, elephants, horses, and good food grains to the Brahmanas. Right? So one is the performance of samskaras, another is giving away. It is very important to give away these things. We saw Nanda Maharaj also did that after Krishna was born. Right? So like that you see, honoring the Brahmanas, giving away, doing Gorakshak, doing all these things are very, very important aspect of our life, right? One's life is a combination of charity and the performance of good deeds, practice of devotion. This is the real purified life. We do not hold everything to ourselves. A well which is abandoned, even though there is a lot of water in it, not used for many years, you see the well dries up. But on the contrary, a well which is continuously being used, you see it produces more and more water for a period of time. So similarly, knowledge that we have should be distributed to others. The wealth that we possess must also be distributed at various time, place, circumstances in the right manner, and that is devotion. That's what has been mentioned here. So knowledge should be distributed means what? To preach others. Okay, Prabhuji, I have learned all these things from Srila Prabhupada. I have read his books. I have attained all this knowledge. Now I give it to others, my friends, my relatives, my kith and kin, my children. So by giving that knowledge distributed, one actually performs the real duty of Vaishnava Dharma in his life. That's what has been mentioned here. So whatever wealth we have, don't do philanthropic work, but do distribution of wealth in mercy and service of the Lord. Okay? If the Lord is pleased, he benedicts all the living entities with greater and greater nourishment, and they also become very, very nice. So, for example, in the era of Srila Prabhupada, now let's say Rath Yatra, right? In Rath Yatra, what we do, we take the Ratha, and the deities are sitting on the Ratha into the streets. Now, when the deities are going, they're showing mercy. They're giving mercy to all the people who have come out to see him. Unlimited mercy is giving. We also distribute prasadam, right? Now, one can sponsor for this prasadam, and one can sponsor for this expenditure connected to the Rath and performance of Rath Yatra and things like that. So that way you see, he is using that money in service, benefit of the people, but in service of the Lord together, right? We can spend money to bring one sannyasi from somewhere and come and speak about Bhagavad Gita. He is pure in his heart. By he speaking this Bhagavad Gita, we all get nourished. So we become the instrument for such events to happen. So collectively, all the Grihasthas need to take up this act of charity on a constant basis. So whenever there is birthday, whenever there's this, whatever possible within our means, we continuously give charity. And that is the life that is one need to follow. Right? Is this clear about how do we do philanthropy? I mean, how do we do distribute our wealth?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Charity must be one of the arms in our life. We should do charity to whatever possible extent. Right? Now, in our devotee community, how do we do charity? Is we have a regulated life. How do we have a regulated life? For example, let's say I'm earning 1 lakh rupees a month, right? 5 to 10,000 rupees every month, I use it in service of Vaishnavas, in the form of Annadana, or in the form of a temple construction, or in the form of deity services, or just give Nitya Seva. Through Nitya Seva, pujaris will be maintained, deities will be maintained, Raj Bhoga will be offered on time. Like that, many of these things will happen. So, this is the culture that Prabhupada taught us. Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. Let's look at their life. When Sanatana Goswami left his job as a minister, and he had lots of gold coins. How much gold coins he had? If you take a big boat, if you stack the entire boat with gold coins, that much of gold coins he had. That was his salary. Huge savings he had. So he recommends, what do we do with this salary? If you have lots of money, he sees that as a threat for my life. Because people will attack him to take that money away from him. So what does he do? He divides the money. He says, 25% I give it to my friends and family members. Otherwise, they are unpleased. They're always saying, oh, see, this guy had so much money, he never gave us this, that. All those things he'll keep commenting. So 25% to Kirtan. 25% he says to my children. 25% he says, I will use it for my retirement benefit. And 25% he says, give it in charity. So that way all are pleased. And then he moves forward. So I'm not saying that you have to follow something like this, but component of charity in one's life, inviting Brahmanas and worshipping them and then hearing from them, study of Srimad Bhagavatam, study of the scriptures in a scrutinizing manner, practice of devotion should be part and parcel of one's life. What ratio, how do you do it, when you want to do it is your choice. But by doing this, the Lord is pleased. Yagnat karmano yatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. Performance, this is all yajna. Whatever I'm telling you is a yajna means forcefully offering, accepting sacrifice or austerity for the pleasure of the Lord. That is called performance of yajna. So now we are performing this yajna. This is also one form of yajna. So Krishna says, by performance of yajna, you are cutting the knots, karma bandhanaha, that karma which is holding you in this world. You cut those knots, and that way you're free of karma. You're ready to go back home, back to Godhead. This is very important to understand. Okay? A rich man may give 1 crore. That is his capacity. An average man may give 1 lakh. That is his capacity. A poor man may give only 100 rupees, and that's his capacity. And Krishna sees that 100 rupees, there's 1 crore and 1 lakh all on the same platform. Because the consciousness matters. Okay? Now what happens? Now they perform the samskaras. King Yudhishthira gave in charity so much to all the Brahmanas. He gave Go Rakshak, everything he did. Now see what happens. Now what the Brahmanas did. 12.15. Tam uchur Brahmanastusta Rajanam Prasharyanvitam Yeshahi Ashmin Prajatantau Puranam Pauravarshaba. Translation. The learned Brahmanas, who were very satisfied with the charity of the king, addressed him as the chief among the Purus and informed him that his son was certainly in line with the descent of the Purus. Look at the blessing they gave. They are saying, you are coming from such a great lineage, and your son, Parikshit, will also exhibit those qualities of lineage, and then we bless him with great success in life. That's the blessings that they give. right? The blessing of the Brahmana is non-different from the blessing of the Lord. Okay? The Lord speaks through the Brahmanas. That's why Brahminical society is such an elevated society. Of course, not the Brahminical society today, what we see. The Brahminical society means who lead a Brahminical life. Otherwise, it becomes a Dujabandhu. Okay? So this Brahminical society elevated life, and the words of the Brahmanas are non-different from the words of the Lord. So the blessings of the Brahmanas are blessings of the Lord themselves. And that is what is important. Right? So here, the Brahmanas are very pleased. They're very satisfied. And they give blessings to the child. Not only child, entire dynasty they blessed. That you live successfully, happily, things like that. So receiving that mercy is the great. Now, why do we run when our spiritual master come or a sannyasi come, things like, why do we run to seek their blessings? Lavamatra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hoy. Just 1 minute of association with a pure devotee will make us ask the right question, will make them to bless on us. And that is the great benediction. That's why we do this. That's why we run to see, can I get the benediction?
Prabhu, Lavamatra Sadhu Sangha,
Sarva siddhi hoy.
Sarva Siddhi.
Hoy.
Okay.
But
Hare
the sangha
Krishna,
itself
sir.
is very nice. Sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha. Sadhu sangha, sarva, sarva.
Navamatra sadhu sangat.
No. Ravamat sangha is second line. First line is sadhu sangha, sarva.
Sarva Matra hoy, Prabhu.
Sadra matra hoy, and lavamatra sadhu sangha, sarva siddhi hoy. So it must be.
Okay, Prabhu.
Okay.
Okay, Prabhu.
So let's
Prabhu.
read the next sloka.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji.
One doubt I had, Prabhu. Supposing we have to give charity to some Brahmana and we don't know whether he is correct or not, is it
Then
okay
don't give.
to?
Don't give.
But
Because if the Brahmana, see, there are many Brahmanas who practice wrong things. Okay?
yes, Prabhu.
Wrong forms of worship or wrong habits they may have. All those things are true. So, when you want to give charity, give it to the right person. Give it to the right place. Give it to the right consciousness.
Sometimes we are forced, Prabhu.
Force is okay. See, I'm talking about charity given in love and devotion. Okay. So when you're giving a force, no problem. At least there won't be any credit for you. Okay, you gave it away. No problem. But ardently in love, we want to give in charity. Give it to the right person.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So now if you know of the credentials of that Vaishnava or that sannyasi, something, give. If you don't know, you can inquire or you can limitedly give and be cautious about it. Because your donation must not be a platform for that person to misuse and do something else. That is important to understand.
So we won't get any karma, Prabhu, if we are forced and we give it to the wrong.
I can't assure you that because karma is too complex to understand. But it may not derive you any benefit.
But we may not get any benefit, Prabhu. If suppose if we do charity to a person who is not Vaishnava or a material world person, if he uses that whatever Lakshmi we give for some intoxication or anything, then we are also part and parcel of that.
Yes. 1/6 of the karma you will receive. If you
Bad
do wrong
karma,
thing.
we have to share the bad karma, Prabhu.
Yeah, 1/6 of the karma, right?
Yes.
You know the story, right? You know the story of how karma gets distributed?
Yes, Prabhu. That Valmiki story, Prabhu.
Many stories are there.
Yes, Prabhu.
I'll tell you one simple story just for us to understand. Okay. Now let's say the son at home desired to eat meat. Okay. So he went and asked his mother, I want to eat some meat-based food. She told, okay, to the father, to the husband, oh, my son wants to eat. Hello? my son wants to eat this, so please go get this meat. Okay. And what the father does, he takes money and gives it to the car driver and say, go buy this meat and come. The driver goes to the market, buys 1 kg or 2 kg of that meat, and then comes and gives it to the servant at home, who cleans, who washes it, cleans it, cuts it and everything, and gives to the mother for cooking, and the mother cooks and serves the child. Okay. Who actually ate the meat now? Only the child. But who are all contributors for the child to eat? The father, the mother, the servant, the driver, and the child himself. So all will get distributed karma. You got it, Prabhu?
Yes,
Such
Prabhu.
such a lengthy distribution, Prabhu.
Huh?
Such a vast distribution to all. For
Yeah.
one person said desire.
Now, for example, let's say Yudhishthira Maharaj announced a policy in his kingdom that slaughterhouse can be made and everyone can eat meat. Now, he didn't eat meat, but he produced a slaughterhouse. So, the king will have to suffer that karma of installing a slaughterhouse. Apart from the jana, praja, who are eating that meat. So, this karma is too complicated to understand. But the simple rule is very simple. We follow the principles of akarma and vikarma. Vikarma means what? If anything is prohibited, we don't do. Akarma means what? Do an action that does not produce any reactions. Devotion life and all these things. So here, giving to a Brahmana is important. But always do some pre-check. Always associate with the right Brahmanas and then give it. Sometimes due to your family reasons and forcefulness, you may give to someone whom they're recommending. It is okay. But don't make that as a habit. That's my point. You want to do Gorakshak, that is protection of cows. Always give it to the right person who protects and takes care of the cow nicely. We don't want to give it to someone who, after a certain age of the cow, okay, this cow is no, it's a burden now, it is not doing anything, no milk, it is giving things like that. They'll give it to slaughterhouse. Don't give it to such people. Very important to practice this.
Prabhu, in Bhagavad Gita, there is verse number 17.20, Prabhu. That is, Desha Kale cha Patre cha Taddanam Satvikam Smritam, Prabhu.
Yeah, very important. You should know when, what to do, how to do it. So, a charity must be given to the right person at the right time. You cannot give charity in the midnight. At the right person, at the right time, and the right place. That's why, those days people went into these, Punya Kshetras and then gave charity there. And last, importantly, the charity must be given in the mood of goodness. It cannot be passion. Passion means what? I'll give charity to this person in expectation that he will do this for me. That is passion. Ignorance. Charity in ignorance means what? Giving wrong things as charity. So, for example, one guy went to America and came back. He brought a lot of liquor and gave charity to his friends. This cannot be considered charity because he's giving the wrong things. So, giving the right things, giving at the right time, giving at the right place, giving to the right person, and importantly, giving at the right consciousness.
Then, Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji.
Prabhu, there is that means Parikshit Maharaja must have also incurred karma, no? Because he gave these places to Kali.
These places for Kali to live.
He gave for a slaughterhouse, he gave intoxication, for that he gave gold, he gave.
So, what happened in Parikshit Maharaj case is, so you have to understand there are two dimensions. The first dimension is, this is called Kali Yuga. Yuga means time period.
But he knew about Kali. Kali was coming and everything, but still he gave.
Yeah, so there you have to understand higher dimensions of truth now in this particular case. Okay, so Kali Yuga means time period where Kali will be prominent and dominant. That's why Kali was created. Okay, now for example, In the previous ages, you see, that is in Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga. In Treta Yuga, I'll give you an example. If a citizen died earlier than his course of life, that means young age only he died, the king took the responsibility that there is something wrong in my administration, that my citizen is dying at a, abnormal time period. Right? Look at the purity of that age. Now today, let's see what's happening. You know, number of illicit activities have become so prominent. Liquor shops are just open like vegetable markets. Every restaurant offers meat eating like anything. That means the society itself is degraded because of influence of Kali. And that's the nature. Krishna says, Kala Chakra, the Satyuga will be the purest age, but the time as it progresses, it will degrade. And to degrade, accordingly, Krishna sends that right person to degrade that society. Because that's the nature of creation. You have to understand nature of creation. Okay? So this is the age of Kali. So when Parikshit Maharaj saw this Kali Purusha, he's asking, who are you and why are you doing this act of kicking a bull and then trying to chop the leg of the bull, the cow? So he says, I don't allow such people in the kingdom. I'll chastise you. In fact, I'll destroy you. No, he says, no, you can't do that. Because the Yuga Dharma is Kali has to be prominent in this Yuga. So you have to give me some place. You cannot destroy me. Then he says, okay, if that is the case, you cannot live everywhere because you will disturb people. You can only live places where unwanted activities happen. And that is why he lists those places to him.
Very true.
It is not that he wanted to give protection to Kali. That is the age. That is the dharma of the age. So, Kali Yuga is not a favorable time to practice devotion compared to the previous Yugas. In Satyuga, it was very easy. Just by meditating, they practiced. And they went back home, back to Godhead. In Treta Yuga, they performed huge yajnas. They performed yajna, they pleased the Lord, went back home, back to Godhead.
Finished.
In Dwapara Yuga, they did Archana Seva. They went to temples. They performed the Tomala Seva to the Lord. They performed all these deity worship to the Lord in all these Punya Kshetras, into Divya Desams, wherever it may be. Went back home, back to Godhead. So in Kali Yuga, because there is no hope, actually there's no hope, no liberation in Kali Yuga for people, but by the causeless mercy of the Lord has given this golden age time period. In this golden age of 10,000 years from the day of appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have this time period to get liberated. That means liberation is possible in Kali Yuga because of the mercy, additional mercy of the Lord. Otherwise, no chance. Now, you see what's happening in Bangladesh. See, me and my wife were discussing during Prabhupada times. Okay, Bangladesh was poverty-stricken and people are dying out of.
Correct.
So Prabhupada called George Harrison and performed a great concert and produced millions of dollars. And collected much more money and then gave it to the Bangladeshi government for them to feed and sustain and come out of poverty. Prabhupada himself, he did this. Now you see how that country is dealing with the Prabhupada movement. They're destroying the deities, they're killing the Hindus, they're killing the Vaishnavas. And in fact, we have many Goswamis as the birthplace there, they're destroying all of them. See, this is the nature of Kali. Kali means he'll not allow us to live. Go back and go to Google and type how many wars are happening for the last 500 years. There's no place on this where there's no war or there's no disturbance. In Yudhishthira time frame, if there's a disturbance, you will go personally attend to it in any nook and corner of the world. Now see what is happening today. Today, can a woman walk after 6 o'clock on the streets very safely and say everything is fine? Always there's danger. Okay, so that's what you have to understand out of the current situation. Okay, we'll do this last okay, one last sloka shall we do, and then we'll end, or how's it? Are you all okay? Or are you getting late?
Yes, Prabhu, you can do, Prabhu.
Just one sloka we'll do and complete it. Okay. Yeah. 16.
And thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, welcome, Adachi. 12.16. Daivena pratiggatena shukle samstam upeyushi ratovo anugra arthaya vishnuna prabha vishnuna. Translation. The Brahmana said, this spotless son has been restored by all-powerful and all-pervasive Lord Vishnu himself, the personality of Godhead, in order to oblige you. Look at it. Oblige whom? Yudhishthir. He was saved when he was doomed to be destroyed by an irresistible supernatural weapon. So you see the power of devotee. Because Yudhishthir is such a wonderful, great devotee of the Lord, and he desired that his lineage, Parikshit Maharaj, to live so that the ruling of the kingdom by placement of dharma is very important. Yudhishthir was called Dharmaraja. And Lord Krishna wanted to reinstate, establish dharma, right? Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. So he wanted to establish the Lord King Yudhishthir to rule the world, establishing of dharma again. So in this kingdom, the lineage of dharma should continue. That's why Yudhishthir wanted Parikshit Maharaj to rule the world. And Lord took that, understood, and benedicted. And he went out of the way to protect the child in order to, continue the desire of Yudhishthir Maharaj. Okay, so very important. You see how Lord is bound by devotion. If the devotion is perfect, the Lord is bound. He does such wonderful acts that you can't believe it. And Srimad Bhagavatam is an example to show us all these things. Okay, so here, such translation. Look at this one. Look at this highlight here. After the battle of Kurukshetra, even up to the next generation of Maharaj could generate another son in the great royal family. There were none. Maharaj Parikshit, son of Abhimanyu, was the only surviving heir apparent in the family. And by the irresistible supernatural Brahmastra weapon of Ashwatthama, he was forced to be annihilated. Even he was supposed to be destroyed. But Lord Krishna is described herein as Vishnu. This is also significant. Lord Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, does the work of protection and annihilation in the capacity of Vishnu. So that means the maintenance of this material world and the entities within the material world is done by Lord Vishnu in his form only, in that mood only. Right? Vishnu is the Purusha avatar of the Lord. But Lord Krishna does not come into such acts. So in order to perform such acts, Lord Krishna expands into Lord Vishnu and performs these acts. So similarly in Vrindavan also, when Lord performs all these amorous pastimes, he is performed as Lord Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan Shama Sundara. But when there was a need to reinstate Dharma, the Lord expands himself as Lord Vishnu and goes out of Vrindavan and performs these great acts of Mahabharata and other things. That is the point to understand here. So, Lord Vishnu is the plenary expansion of Lord Krishna. The all pervasive activities of Lord are executed by him in the Vishnu feature. So, you see the purpose of Lord expanding into Vishnu. So, similarly, when Lord takes different avatars, there's a purpose why he takes an avatar and comes and reinstates that particular act. That is the important point to understand here. Okay? So, let's end here for today's class. And we'll take up questions. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.
Prabhuji, generally we go to Vrindavan during Kartik Masa and we circumambulate Govardhan and Vrindavan and do all kind of festivities, Prabhu. So the Vrajavasis who are very poor there, they ask for some monetary thing like alms or something like that. So without considering anything, we can give charity, you know. They are all, we have to consider them as Vaishnavas because they are in Vrindavana.
See, someone who's a Vrajavasi. Vrajavasi means, who's a Vrajavasi means by birth who was born in that place. Is called a Vrajavasi. Okay. Now, generally Vrajavasis are, what do you say, devotees who have not completed the journey. Okay.
Yes.
They're just completing the last part of the journey by being born in Vraj, and they will just go through that life. And at the end of the life, they'll all go back home, back to Godhead. That is the specialty of Vrajavasi. You just cannot become a Vrajavasi by your choice. Okay. So this is the one important feature of Vrajavasi. So when we go to Dham, we don't offend any Vrajavasi under any condition. Even if they're wrong, sometimes they come and steal you. No problem, you just leave it. It's act of the Lord. That is the specialty of Vrajavasi. Okay. So for Vrajavasis, we don't see any rules and regulations and things like that, because by birth only they're wonderful and great. So in such scenarios, if it's a Vrajavasi, if you feel, you'll just get a feeling in your heart. If it's genuine, you feel, you do it. Otherwise, you have a doubt, you go to the ISKCON center there. Now, ISKCON has a lot of programs, lots and lots of charity programs for the Vrajavasis. Through them also, you can donate. Right? So that is the situation of a Vrajavasi. Sometimes you will see, when you go to Govardhan Parikrama, you will start very early in the morning, you will see someone coming and showing a knife and stealing money from you. He's a Vrajavasi, but don't worry about it. Give it away. And don't comment on that Vrajavasi also.
Yes, Prabhu.
They are very, very special birth, and they get the benediction of Srimati Radha. So for example, there is a devotee who is practicing devotion. Okay? And he's doing everything nicely. But somehow he had some material desire, or some lusty desire, some greed, something he had. But all other aspects of devotion, he did very wonderfully. So instead of he getting liberated, the Lord will make him to be born in a particular location just to complete the last part of the anartha, the klesha to be removed, and then he goes back to God. So we don't understand the real position of Vrajavasi, and hence we become very subtle and non-provocative in our thoughts or mind when dealing with Vrajavasis.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam.
Prabhu,
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Prabhu, in the text 7, in the purport, it's mentioned the first line, death generally involves remaining in trance for 7 months. So that means this fetus is still not developed now, Prabhu. So
after 7 months, the child is in the consciousness of Lord.
Is in the consciousness
Okay.
of God.
Yeah. So after 7 months, then the Lord, allows him to realize the situation where all the organs and everything has been formed. And then he offers prayers to the Lord. This place that you put me into is so claustrophobic. I'm not able to live here. And, I beg you, mercy, that please leave me. And I will follow my Manushya Dharma once I am being born. And he requests mercy from the Lord. And once the Lord's mercy is awarded to him, the Vayu Bhagavan enters the womb and starts to rotate the child. Starts to rotate the child and fixes the head of the child at the exit point, and the child comes out.
That means the 3 material modes of nature has still not started in the womb. Only when it is out of the...
No, it has started.
It has started. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes,
when I read that sentence, I thought we are in the abdomen of Vishnu, like that, Prabhu. And for 7 months, we have to stay there and then come to the womb.
The abdomen of Vishnu is pre-creation. Once Brahma started to create, he takes all the living entities who are in the womb of Narayana or Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and then awards each one of them a suitable body according to the karma.
So that is 7 months, Prabhu?
No, that is not 7 months. The living entities already entered the material world. They are just taking different bodies at different points in time.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Dandavat pranam.
Dandavat pranam. Okay.
Prabhuji, one question.
Ah,
Regarding that meat example, you told that boy wanted to eat the meat, and all the members who are involved in they get that karma.
yes.
So so egg is also considered as a non-veg, because my son is doing a cricket, so his coach asking to eat the eggs, and also we need to buy the egg and to give him like that. So
So
how?
why the coach tells to buy egg is because it is rich in protein.
Correct.
Okay. Now, egg is also considered non-veg. Now, you can generate proteins in so many vegetable things are there. Dals have so much rich protein. Paneer has so much rich protein. And there are many sources of rich protein. And I can show you literatures on the web which actually calculates the amount of protein that person requires and where the sources are available. So, for example, how do you calculate how much protein you require? You require 1 gram of protein to 1 kg of body weight, right? So if you are 70 kgs in weight, you need about 70 grams of protein to be consumed in a 124-hour cycle. Okay. And that is available in fantastic natural sources. I can help you to find that also. But just Google it also, you will find all those natural sources. Try to take that rather than taking egg.
Okay, thanks.
That will be better for your son, Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
You mentioned the importance of Paramatma meditation. So the way Paramatma guides to Bhagwan. So I wanted to know, is there any importance of the um, the effulgence part, or the
No, the
Brahman,
effect.
yeah. So the Brahman aspect, like the Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. So the Brahman awareness, how will that guide? Just the
Okay. First of all, your question is not so clear to me, but whatever I little understand out of your question, the effulgence of the body here, it is denoting the Achinta Shakti of the Lord. The features like helmet, the effulgence, he moving at in a circular format around him, all these things, it is giving confidence to Parikshit that he is getting protected. That is the context here.
Okay.
There is no other context about realization now. Okay. So, for example, let's say you're in a very difficult situation where you're being robbed or you've been, somehow conquered by a certain set of devotees, thieves. But even if one policeman enters that place, once you see that cocky shirt, maybe a gun in his hand or a lathi in his hand, you will feel confident, no? Oh, the police has come, I'll be safe. So that fact of the police presence in an attire, it is not that he's not magic attire, it's going to give you confidence and fear in the heart of the thieves. So these features of the Lord are exhibited or described very specifically to reinstate that the Lord has come there to protect him. So that's the point to understand in the current context.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you all. Thanks for your wonderful time. We'll end today's class. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय, गुरुदेव की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, वैष्णव ठाकुर श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम तत्सत। Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavad Pranam. Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Prabhu,
Dandavad
Dandavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna, Dandavad Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandas Pranam Prabhu. Thank you so much for the
Hare Krishna
Hare
Prabhu,
Krishna,
Dandavad
Dandavad
Pranam.
Pranam. Okay. Okay. Hare Krishna to all. We'll end the class here. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavad Pranam. Thank you.
Hare